As we move through life, there comes a moment not marked on any calendar when something begins to shift. It doesn't announce itself with a bang. It doesn't come with a diagnosis or a headline. Instead, it arrives quietly. Perhaps one day you find yourself reaching for a handrail you never needed before. Maybe standing up from the couch takes just a moment longer than it used to. You might not even notice it at first, but slowly, subtly, your legs begin to feel like they're no longer listening as well as they once did. This change, for many, feels like a slow loss of control. Not just physical control, but emotional confidence. The legs that once carried you swiftly across a room now hesitate at curbs, struggle on stairs, and falter on uneven ground. And for most people, between the ages of 45 and 75, these signs are quietly folded into the story we've all been told. You're just getting older. It's natural. It's normal. But here's the truth most never hear. Age isn't the villain. Yes, the years matter, but not the way you think. The real story behind fading leg strength is not about birthdays. It's about biology. It's about silent breakdowns in communication between your brain, your spinal cord, and your muscles. It's about how the signals that once said, "move now," whisper, stutter, or sometimes vanish altogether. What if I told you that the muscle in your legs isn't disappearing, but has simply gone quiet? That the strength you fear is lost, is actually waiting in the wings, idle, not gone. And that with the right kind of support, the right nutrients, and the right timing, you can wake it up again. Not over months or years, but within hours. This isn't a marketing promise. It's scientific fact, backed by years of peer-reviewed research. You see, muscles are not just bundles of fiber. They are deeply connected to the nervous system. Every movement you make begins as a signal from your brain. That signal travels down through your spine and out to your limbs, arriving at something called the neuromuscular junction, the place where nerves and muscles meet. If that junction is weak, or undernourished, or disrupted, then your muscles never get the full message. It's not that they're lazy. They're simply not being called to action. For decades, we believed that muscle decline came from disuse or hormonal changes. But modern neuroscience is telling a more hopeful story. A large portion of age-related weakness isn't due to the muscle shrinking, it's due to disconnection. Just like a lamp with a loose wire, the muscle is still functional, but the signal is broken. And what's groundbreaking is that this signal can be restored with nutrition, not just movement. Let's talk about food. Because the path to strength doesn't always run through the gym. It often begins in your kitchen. Studies have shown that certain foods, when consumed at the right time of day, can reignite muscle activity by restoring the communication lines between your brain and your legs. We're not talking about miracle diets or fads. We're talking about amino acids that signal growth, vitamins that rebuild nerve pathways, nutrients that energize your mitochondria, tiny engines inside your cells that give your muscles life. Now, picture this. Tomorrow morning, you wake up and prepare a specific breakfast, not just any meal, but one designed to trigger these neurological systems. Within a few hours, your nervous system starts firing more efficiently. Your balance feels sharper. You rise from your chair more confidently. This isn't wishful thinking. This is a physiological chain reaction that anyone can activate with the right knowledge. And that's why this message matters. Because this isn't just about muscle tone or fitness goals. It's about your independence, your safety, your dignity. It's about staying in your home longer, climbing stairs with confidence, walking without fear of falling. When your legs are strong, your life expands. When they're weak, the world shrinks. So let's shift the conversation. Let's stop asking how old you are and start asking how well your body is being supported. Let's stop assuming weakness is inevitable and start treating it as reversible. Because science is showing us something extraordinary. With the right inputs, the body at 65 or 70 can recover faster than we ever imagined. Over the next sections, we'll explore the key components behind this recovery. We'll talk about the nutrients that power your nerve signals, the amino acids that act as molecular switches, the timing strategies that amplify your body's natural rhythms. We'll also look at simple, actionable steps starting with breakfast tomorrow that can begin to rebuild your strength before the day is over. If you've ever stood up and felt your legs wobble, if you've started avoiding stairs or curbs, or if you've quietly wondered whether this decline is just something you have to live with, let me be the first to say, no, you don't. Your body remembers how to be strong. It's simply waiting for the signal to begin again. And now, with knowledge in your hands, that signal can start today. There is something remarkable that happens inside the human body long before the mirror shows it, long before the doctor mentions it. It begins quietly, often in your 40s, and picks up pace as the years pass. It's not the weakening of muscles in the way we often imagine fibers shrinking or vanishing. No, what begins to break down first is communication. More specifically, the electrical connection between your brain and your legs. Your muscles, especially those in your lower body, do not operate on their own. They rely on constant, clear instructions from your nervous system. Every step you take, every rise from a chair, every moment you balance on one foot involves a complex chain of commands. The brain decides what to do. The spinal cord relays the message. The motor neurons fire. The muscles receive the signal. But with age and, more importantly, with undernourishment, this line of communication begins to fray. Researchers have found that starting as early as the 4th decade of life, motor neurons, especially those connected to your legs, begin to degrade. This doesn't mean they disappear overnight. Instead, they become less efficient. Like a phone line with static, the message from the brain grows faint, delayed, or scrambled. The result? Muscles that are still there, but aren't fully engaging. They're not weak because they've atrophied. They're weak because they're not being told what to do. This insight changes everything. It means that much of the muscle loss associated with aging isn't about the muscle at all. It's about the signal. In fact, one study from the University of Calgary found that adults with declining leg strength still had the structural potential for muscle activity. Their muscle tissue wasn't gone. It was simply offline. The problem was the neuromuscular junction, the critical point where the nerve meets the muscle. That junction was no longer firing at full strength. Now think about that moment when you rise from a chair and feel a wobble, even though nothing else has changed. Or when your legs seem to fatigue more quickly than they used to. These aren't just signs of getting older. They are signs that your internal communication system is struggling. Your nervous system is trying to shout, but the microphone is fading. The message is being lost in transmission. The spinal cord plays a central role in this. It's not just a highway for signals, it's a relay station, adjusting, refining, and translating the commands that keep you stable and mobile. But like any high-performance system, it needs fuel. That fuel doesn't come from exercise alone. It comes from nutrient-specific ones that support the health and function of your motor neurons. Imagine your legs as a skilled team of workers, and your nervous system as the foreman giving instructions through a megaphone. If the megaphone's batteries are low, the workers get confused. They hesitate. They do the wrong task or nothing at all. Now, restore the battery. The megaphone comes alive. The team gets back to work. This is what happens when you nourish the neuromuscular junction. The signal returns, the muscle re-engages. Strength follows. The question then becomes, how do we restore that signal? And the answer is simpler than you might expect. Specific nutrients, amino acids, B vitamins, and acetylcholine precursor scan dramatically enhance signal quality. Within hours of intake, these compounds begin to recharge the neuromuscular junction. Not over months, not after weeks of rehab, but in a single day, your body begins to respond. This is not theory. It is observation, measured in labs and reflected in real-world results. Older adults who consume foods rich in these nerve-supporting nutrients often report noticeable improvements in stability and strength within a single day. It's not because their muscles have grown. It's because the line of communication has been restored. The nervous system is awake again. One of the most important principles here is this. Before you think about building new muscle, ask if your body is using the muscle you already have. So many people spend years trying to strengthen weak legs without realizing that the muscle isn't being activated in the first place. It's like trying to drive a car with a dead battery. The structure is intact. The engine is fine. But without ignition, nothing moves. And this insight brings us to a new kind of protocolon, based not on brute effort, but on precision. If you can identify the nutrients that restore neural signaling, if you can time their intake to match your body's natural rhythms, you can begin to reverse the very declines that once seemed inevitable. This is not guesswork. This is the frontier of neuroscience meeting everyday nutrition. So let me ask you, have you felt that unexplained fatigue in your legs lately? That imbalance that didn't used to be there? Do your steps feel less certain, even when your routine hasn't changed? These are the questions your body is already asking, and the answer is within your reach. You don't need a new prescription. You need to recharge the signal. And the good news is, you can start today. There is a brief but powerful moment that occurs every time you eat. It's not when the food reaches your stomach. It's not even when you begin to feel full. It happens in the first few seconds, at the molecular level, when your body starts to scan for signals. Not just calories, not just nutrients, but specific biochemical cues that tell your cells what to do next. One of the most powerful of these cues comes from an amino acid called leucine. Leucine is more than just a building block of protein. It's a trigger. It tells your cells, especially your muscle cells, that it's time to grow, repair, and respond. It's what scientists refer to as an anabolic signala, biological instruction that initiates muscle protein synthesis. And what's fascinating is that this signal is especially vital in older adults whose bodies have become more resistant to growth cues over time. This condition, known as anabolic resistance, means your muscles need a stronger, more precise message to start rebuilding. Leucine delivers that message. Now, let's get specific. Inside your cells, there's a pathway called mTOR short for mechanistic target of rapamycin. Think of mTOR as a control tower, directing whether your muscles build or simply maintain. When leucine enters the picture, it flips the switch. It tells mTOR to go to work, activating the machinery that builds muscle tissue. Without that signal, even if you're eating plenty of protein, your muscles may not fully respond. This is why so many older adults feel like their meals are no longer fueling them. They eat, they get their protein, but they still feel tired, weak, or slow. The problem isn't quantity, it's quality and timing. Many people consume just enough protein to stop muscle breakdown, but not enough of the right kind of protein to actually stimulate growth. That's the difference between surviving and thriving. And this is where whey protein becomes so important. Unlike many plant-based proteins, whey contains a high concentration of leucine, along with other essential amino acids. It's fast-absorbing, it's efficient, and it delivers the exact molecular cues your body needs to repair and grow muscle tissue, especially in your legs, which are typically the first to show signs of weakness as you age. Just a small serving of high-quality whey protein, about 25 to 30 grams can, provide the 2.5 to 3 grams of leucine needed to activate muscle repair. That's not a guess. That's based on clinical research. A 2011 study published in the Journal of Nutrition found that older adults who consumed a leucine-rich meal experienced a significant increase in muscle protein synthesis even within just a few hours. That means the benefits are not theoretical. They are real, fast, and measurable. Here's a practical way to use this knowledge. Make your first substantial meal of the day count. Don't wait until dinner to load up on protein. Instead, begin your day with a leucine-rich meal, something that combines whey protein with other supportive foods. Think of it as priming your system. When you front-load your day with the right signals, you activate your muscle-building machinery during the time when your body is most responsive. And why the morning? Because after sleep, your body is naturally more sensitive to nutrients. Your motor neurons are hungry for input. Your muscles are in a receptive state. If you give them what they need, leucine, in particular, you set the tone for better strength, energy, and stability throughout the day. Even better, the effects of leucine go beyond the muscles. By reactivating the neuromuscular junction, the place where your nerves and muscles connect, you're not just improving strength, you're improving coordination, precision, balance. You're restoring the biochemical conversation that keeps you agile and alert. This is especially critical if you've experienced falls, stumbles, or that subtle feeling of being off balance. These are not simply signs of aging. They are often signs that your nervous system is not communicating clearly with your muscles. And leucine helps reestablish that link. Now let's address something important. If you're plant-based or avoiding dairy, there are still ways to increase your leucine intake, but it requires more intentional planning. Soy, legumes, and certain grains like quinoa do contain leucine, but often in lower amounts and with lower bioavailability. You may need larger portions or a combination of sources to reach the optimal dose. And timing becomes even more critical. Regardless of your dietary preferences, the principle remains the same. If you want your muscles to work, you have to tell them to. And the language they listen to is made of amino acids, with leucine leading the charge. So tomorrow morning, try this simple step. Mix a scoop of whey protein isolate into a smoothie, add some berries, maybe a handful of spinach, and a spoonful of almond butter. Drink it within 30 minutes of waking. Then go for a short walk. This one action sends a message loud and clear to your muscles, to your nervous system, to your metabolism. The message is, wake up, rebuild, reconnect, because you're not too old. Your strength is not behind you. It's waiting. It's listening. And with the right words spoken in the language of nutrition, you can call it back. Every movement you make begins as an electrical impulse in your brain. The decision to rise from a chair, to take a step forward, to shift your weight, none of it happens in the muscles first. It starts in the mind. But that signal cannot travel directly from your brain to your legs. It must be translated, carried, and delivered by a remarkable substance known as acetylcholine. Acetylcholine is a neurotransmitter, one of the body's most essential messengers. It plays the lead role in neuromuscular transmission, the process through which your brain's intentions become physical actions. Without it, your muscles don't fire properly. They misfire, they hesitate, or they fail to respond at all. And as we grow older, our production of acetylcholine begins to slow. Not dramatically at first, not in a way that's obvious, but over time, this subtle decline becomes one of the hidden culprits behind muscle weakness, instability, and delayed reaction. What makes acetylcholine so important is that it functions like a key in a lock. Your brain sends the signal. Acetylcholine unlocks the muscle to respond. If the key is missing or if the lock is corroded, nothing happens. You may have the muscle, the strength, even the intent to move, but if the signal doesn't get through, you're left feeling disconnected. This is why some people experience a sudden loss of coordination or notice that their legs don't respond as quickly, even when they're physically healthy. But here's the good news. Just like a depleted battery can be recharged, your body's supply of acetylcholine can be restored. And the secret lies in a nutrient called choline. Choline is the precursor to acetylcholine. It's the raw material your body uses to produce this vital neurotransmitter. And unlike many other compounds that require complex supplements or expensive treatments, Choline can be obtained directly from food. In fact, one of the richest sources of choline is something many of us have in our refrigerator right now: eggs. 2 whole eggs, especially with the yolks, provide over 300 milligrams of choline. That's enough to significantly support your body's ability to produce acetylcholine. More importantly, studies have shown that this synthesis can happen within hours, especially when your nervous system is actively engaged, like in the morning or after movement. So imagine this. You wake up, and instead of skipping breakfast or grabbing something processed, you eat 2 whole eggs. Within an hour, your brain begins converting that choline into acetylcholine. Your nervous system gets a fresh boost. The connection between your brain and your legs sharpens. You stand up, and your steps feel steadier. That's not placebo. That's biology in motion. It's no coincidence that older adults often experience falls or stumbles in the morning. After a night of fasting, the nervous system is temporarily undernourished. Acetylcholine levels are low. Receptors are sluggish. But if you feed the system early with choline-rich foods, you re-establish control when it matters most. For those who don't consume eggs, there are alternatives. Soybeans, quinoa, Brussels sprouts, and certain legumes also contain choline, though in lower amounts and with reduced absorption rates. You may need to combine these foods or use a choline supplement derived from natural sources like sunflower lecithin. The key is consistency. The nervous system doesn't need massive doses. It needs steady, daily support. And the benefits of acetylcholine don't end with muscle control. This neurotransmitter also supports learning, focus, and memory. When you restore your brain's acetylcholine supply, you're not just improving how your legs move, you're improving how your mind works. That's why many people who adopt a choline-rich morning routine report both physical and mental clarity. They feel sharper, more present, and more in control. This dual benefit strengthening both the body and the mind is especially powerful for those entering their later years. It means that one simple change in your morning habits can ripple through your entire day, affecting not just how you move, but how you feel, think, and engage with the world around you. Let's not overlook how profound this is. Most people believe they need complex interventions to regain control over their body. But sometimes, the most powerful tools are also the simplest. Eating 2 eggs within 30 minutes of waking is not difficult, but it's a signal to your nervous system that you're paying attention, that you're giving it what it needs to function, and that you're not passively surrendering to the myth that aging must equal decline. So the next time you feel unsteady on your feet, or your reaction time seems off, or you struggle to focus, don't assume it's just age. Ask yourself, have I nourished my nervous system today? Have I given my body the tools it needs to communicate clearly? Because the truth is, strength begins in the brain. And every movement, every step, every confident stride starts with a single message. Acetylcholine is the messenger, and choline is the ink in the pen. Imagine trying to water a garden with a hose that's twisted and clogged. You could have the richest soil, the finest seeds, and plenty of sunlight, but if the water doesn't flow freely, nothing will grow. That is exactly what happens inside your muscles, especially the ones in your legs when blood flow is restricted. You may be eating well, even exercising regularly, but if circulation is impaired, your muscles can't receive the oxygen and nutrients they need to thrive. As we age, the blood vessels that supply our legs, the arteries, capillaries, and tiny endothelial linings begin to stiffen. They lose some of their elasticity. They become less responsive. And this slowdown in circulation doesn't just affect performance. It affects recovery, energy, balance, and overall vitality. You might not feel it directly, but you'll notice its effects. Heavy legs, reduced stamina, delayed recovery after walking or standing, and a general sense of sluggishness in your lower body. At the center of this circulatory puzzle is a humble molecule called nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is a gas produced naturally in your body. It signals your blood vessels to relax and widen, allowing blood to flow more freely. When nitric oxide is abundant, your muscles are bathed in oxygen-rich blood. When it's in short supply, your circulation suffers, and everything from performance to healing slows down. The body produces nitric oxide through a few different pathways, but one of the most powerful and accessible ways to boost it is through diet. More specifically, through the consumption of dietary nitrates. These are compounds found in certain vegetables, most notably in beets. Beets, especially when consumed raw or as juice, are incredibly rich in dietary nitrates. When you eat them, your body converts these nitrates into nitric oxide. The result? Improved vasodilation, which means your blood vessels open wider and transport more oxygen to your working muscles. This isn't a vague theory. It's been documented in numerous clinical studies. In one particular study published in the Journal of Applied Physiology, older adults who drank beetroot juice experienced a significant increase in leg muscle power within just a few hours. The effect was especially notable in fast-twitch muscle fibers, those responsible for quick movements and balance. These fibers are the first to decline with age, but also the most responsive to improved blood flow. Let's break this down into something usable. Drinking about 8 to 10 ounces of beetroot juice or eating 1 to 2 medium-sized beets roughly 90 minutes before any kind of movement or activity can dramatically enhance circulation. This is especially useful before a walk, a stretching session, or any kind of physical therapy. It prepares your muscles for action by delivering more of what they need: oxygen and nutrients. To amplify the effect, try combining this intake with light movement. A gentle walk, cycling, or even chair stretches will stimulate the production of nitric oxide even further. The combination of dietary nitrates and physical activity creates a compounding effect, enhancing blood flow beyond what either could do alone. And if you're worried about the sugar in beets, rest assured. Their glycemic load is relatively low, especially when consumed in whole form or paired with a source of protein or fiber. The performance benefits, especially when it comes to leg strength, balance, and recovery, far outweigh any temporary blood sugar rise. But the power of nitric oxide doesn't stop at muscles. It also improves brain function, supports heart health, and enhances endothelial function, the health of the cells lining your blood vessels. In fact, some researchers are now studying beetroot as a natural therapy for vascular dementia and age-related cognitive decline. That's the beauty of this approach. It's not just about building muscle or improving one aspect of your health. It's about supporting the entire system that keeps you upright, balanced, and strong. Blood flow is foundational. Without it, the best nutrition and exercise programs fall flat. With it, even small steps produce large gains. So tomorrow, consider adding beets to your morning smoothie, or slice them into your lunch salad, or simply enjoy a small glass of beetroot juice with breakfast. Make it a habit, especially on days when you plan to move. Give your body the tools to circulate life into your muscles, because when your blood flows freely, so does your energy, your confidence, and your strength. There is a kind of fire that burns silently inside the body. It doesn't come with fever or pain. It doesn't alert you like a twisted ankle or a bruised muscle. Instead, it simmers quietly in the background, often for years, gradually wearing down your strength, your energy, and your resilience. This fire is called chronic inflammation, and for millions of older adults, especially those between the ages of 45 and 75, it is one of the most overlooked causes of declining leg strength and overall vitality. Unlike the kind of inflammation you might experience after an injurious swollen knee, a red patch of skin chronic inflammation is subtle and systemic. It doesn't announce itself, but it leaves signs: fatigue that doesn't go away, muscles that feel weak or slow. Joints that seem stiffer than they used to. A sense that your body just isn't recovering the way it once did. Inside your body, chronic inflammation interferes with several critical systems. It disrupts muscle protein synthesis, the very process by which your body rebuilds and strengthens muscle tissue. It increases oxidative stress, damaging the mitochondria's tiny engines that power your muscle contractions. And it interferes with neuromuscular communication, making it harder for your brain to send clear signals to your legs. Even small levels of this inflammation can reduce your muscle's ability to activate, repair, and perform. A major study published in the journals of gerontology found that higher levels of inflammatory markers, particularly C-reactive protein and interleukin-6, were strongly associated with reduced leg strength and muscle mass 7 in older adults who exercised and ate well. That means you can be doing many things right and still lose ground if inflammation is left unchecked. But here's where the science becomes deeply hopeful. The body is not helpless in the face of inflammation. In fact, it comes equipped with powerful internal systems designed to cool that fire if you give them the right fuel. And one of the most potent anti-inflammatory fuels doesn't come from a supplement or a pill. It comes from your produce drawer. Dark leafy greens like spinach, kale, arugula, chard, and mustard greens are some of nature's most effective tools for fighting inflammation. These vegetables are packed with compounds that actively downregulate inflammatory pathways. Polyphenols like quercetin, chlorophyll, magnesium, and nitrate compounds work together to reduce oxidative stress, regulate immune response, and restore balance to your cellular environment. Quercetin in particular, found in kale and mustard greens, has been shown to inhibit pro-inflammatory cytokines such as IL-6 and TNF-alpha. A 2019 study in Frontiers in Pharmacology reported that regular intake of quercetin-rich foods significantly reduced inflammation markers in older adults, especially when combined with moderate physical activity. So what does this mean for your legs? It means that by simply including 1 packed cup of dark leafy greens in your first meal of the day, you can begin to turn down that chronic inflammatory noise. You're not just feeding your muscles, you're signaling your immune system to relax, to shift from defense to repair, to give your body the space it needs to heal and grow stronger. Timing matters here too. When you consume anti-inflammatory foods in the morning, you help shape your body's inflammatory rhythm for the rest of the day. That's because your circadian clock, the internal system that governs hormones, metabolism, and immunity, is highly responsive to the first inputs you give it each day. A meal rich in greens, paired with healthy fats like olive oil or avocado, sends a powerful signal. We are safe, we are nourished, we can lower the alarm. Add a squeeze of lemon or a dash of apple cider vinegar to your greens, and you enhance digestion and nutrient absorption even further. These small additions make a big difference. They don't just flavor your mouth, they increase the bioavailability of vitamins like K and antioxidants like beta-carotene, which support both muscle health and immune regulation. It's important to be realistic. These changes don't create overnight miracles. You won't feel a dramatic shift in a single day. But within 10 to 14 days, many people notice less muscle soreness, better recovery after walking or standing, and a general feeling of lightness in their legs. That's the result of inflammation easing, of systems working more efficiently, of your body moving from struggle into flow. This is where food becomes more than fuel. It becomes communication. It tells your body not just what to burn, but how to behave. It shapes your chemistry, your immunity, and ultimately your physical capacity, and that's a power worth tapping into. So the next time you prepare breakfast, ask yourself, have I added something green to this plate? Have I started my day with a message of repair rather than inflammation? Because every bite is a decision. Every meal is an opportunity. And your legs, your balance, your strength, they are all listening. There is a rhythm to everything in life: the rising and setting of the sun, the beat of your heart, the pattern of your breath. Your body, too, moves by rhythm, especially when it comes to how it processes food, builds strength, and recovers energy. Yet, this internal clock is often ignored in conversations about nutrition and muscle health. We talk about what to eat, but rarely about when. And for older adults seeking to restore leg strength and vitality, timing may be just as important as content. Every time you consume a meal that contains protein, your body initiates a process known as muscle protein synthesis. This is the mechanism by which your body repairs and builds new muscle tissue. It's the green light that tells your cells, "Let's rebuild." But as we age, this signal weakens. It becomes harder for your muscles to recognize and respond to the nutrients they receive. This phenomenon, called anabolic resistance, makes timing not just relevant but essential. Research has shown that distributing protein evenly throughout the day significantly enhances muscle growth and maintenance. That means it's not enough to load up on protein at dinner. If you want to maximize strength, especially in your legs, you need to stimulate muscle synthesis multiple times a day. Each time you do, it's like sending another spark through your neuromuscular system, reminding it to stay active and responsive. A 2014 study from the University of Texas demonstrated this clearly. Participants who consumed roughly equal amounts of protein at breakfast, lunch, and dinner experienced 25% higher muscle protein synthesis than those who ate most of their protein at the end of the day. The implications for older adults are enormous. By shifting your protein intake earlier, starting with your first meal, you can improve not only muscle strength, but also energy levels, recovery, and balance. Let's put this into action. Step 1 is to consume at least 30 grams of high-quality protein within the first hour of waking. This might include 3 eggs sautéed with spinach, lentils, or a smoothie made with Greek yogurt, whey protein, and a handful of nuts. This early dose of protein activates your system when it's most sensitive right after a night of fasting, when your body is eager for repair. Step 2 is to pair this protein intake with light movement. Even a short walk, a gentle stretch, or some chair exercises before or after breakfast can amplify the muscle-building response. Physical activity increases blood flow, opens receptor sites, and enhances the delivery of amino acids to your muscle tissue. It also helps counteract stiffness and inflammation that often build overnight. Step 3 is to follow any session of movement, whether it's a walk, a workout, or even gardening with another meal or snack that combines protein and complex carbohydrates. Think of a lentil and quinoa bowl, or a piece of grilled chicken with roasted sweet potatoes. The carbohydrates stimulate insulin, which acts like a shuttle, helping deliver amino acids directly into muscle cells. Step 4, and perhaps most important for older adults, is to avoid protein stacking at dinner. Your body can only utilize a limited amount of protein at one time, usually around 30 to 40 grams. Consuming more than that in a single meal does not build more muscle. Instead, the excess is often oxidized for energy or stored. So rather than saving the largest meal for the end of the day, distribute your intake evenly and intentionally. These are small changes, but they create powerful shifts in how your body functions. By aligning your meals with your biological rhythms, you are no longer just eating, you are communicating. You are sending signals to your nervous system, your muscles, and your metabolism that say, stay strong, stay active, stay alive. And this brings us to the heart of everything we've discussed. Leg strength is not just about motion, it's about independence, confidence, quality of life. It determines how easily you move through your day, how steady you feel on your feet, and how much you trust your own body. And the science is clear. You are not too old. Your strength is not lost. It is waiting for the right inputs, in the right amounts, at the right time. So tomorrow morning, make one small shift. Drink a beetroot smoothie. Add some whey protein. Go for a walk. Then follow it with a breakfast rich in greens and choline. These are not heroic acts. They are quiet decisions, made with care, repeated daily. But over time, they add up. They change how you move, how you recover, how you live. And as the days pass, something else happens. You begin to feel more capable, more stable, more like yourself. The fog of fatigue lifts, the hesitation in your step fades, and in its place comes strength not just in your legs, but in your spirit. Because health isn't just about numbers or lab results. It's about the feeling of walking across a room without fear, of stepping outside with energy, of knowing that you're doing something each day that supports your body and honors your life. This is the real goal. Not perfection, not youth, but strength that adapts, energy that returns, and a life that moves forward with confidence.